Welcome to the Acecall.ai podcast, where we help golf club managers win with AI. Running a golf club today is harder than ever, so we created simple AI solutions and a podcast to make it easier for you. I'm Clayton Elliott.
I'm Brad Milligan. Together, we bring a mix of entrepreneurial innovation and decades of golf club management experience to help you optimize your club, increase profitability, and elevate the member experience. So let's dive in.
If you are a general manager of a golf club and have ever struggled with high turnover, with unhappy staff, or a lack of consistency in your golf club operations, you will get a lot from this episode. We all know that a happy, motivated staff translates directly into a better member experience and a more profitable club. But how do you keep your employees engaged and satisfied and committed to your club for the long term? That's the $1 million question right there, and the one we'll be digging into.
It is, Clay. And that's what we're tackling today. How to maximize employee satisfaction and retention at your golf club. We'll break down real-world strategies that work, from improving workplace culture to offering career growth opportunities, competitive compensation, and strong mentorship programs. And stick around, because at the end of the episode, we'll share a simple, high-impact tool that could immediately improve your employee experience and guest interactions.
Oh, and before we jump in, if you haven't yet, give us a call at 1-866-838-8581 to test drive our voice ad receptionist, see for yourself how basic mode works, and imagine how it could replace voicemail at your club, making work easier for staff and the experience better for members. All right, let's get started. So Brad, let's start with the big picture. Golf clubs have a pretty unique employee structure. You know, unlike businesses where many employees share similar roles, there's a lot of overlap. A golf club is a mix of a bunch of distinct jobs. There's groundskeepers, pro shop attendants and managers. There's golf instructors and coaches. There's food and beverage, hospitality teams. There's the maintenance crews. I guess similar to the groundskeepers. There's the member specialists that really focus on, the customer service element, and then the many different managers. So it's a pretty diverse workforce to manage. And I imagine it comes with some unique challenges. It's kind of a mix of like high-end luxury, experiential marketing combined with like landscaping and like kind of like construction and maintenance, all kind of blended together.
Yeah, it's a fascinating place to work, to be honest with you. It's very different from many other types of businesses and places to work. So that diversity means that a one-size-fits-all approach to employee satisfaction just doesn't really work. What motivates a golf instructor might not be what motivates a seasonal grounds crew member. And then there's the whole seasonal employment factor. Many clubs struggle with keeping good workers around when the season changes. You have, high school students, you have university students, people who can only work half the year. You have teachers working there often. So you have all types of people working there, right? So a lot of different schedules to manage. So when you're losing you're losing staff every year and constantly hiring and training, it creates major inconsistencies in your service quality and operations. And this obviously makes it more difficult and stressful for the staff who remain working for you. Nobody loves getting worked to the bone for no overtime, and that can happen a lot in golf. It's kind of like...
Yeah, you mentioned that's like normal.
Yeah, it's kind of like an industry norm. A lot of talk about work-life balance all the time, but not actually seeing it in reality. So burnout and work-related stress, those are extreme realities. Those happen. And there's real hard, tangible costs to that. But that's totally for another episode, Clay.
Yeah, and I'd like to dig into that and do a whole episode on like the true costs of burnt out, worked out staff in golf specifically. Mm-hmm. And okay, so but let's definitely not forget like customer service expectations, right? Golf clubs, they're in the hospitality business. So, whether it's a high-end private club or a busy public course, all guests expect top tier service that's reflective of their course, right? In their club. And when employees are completely disengaged, burnt out, overworked, or undertrained, or frustrated that things aren't flowing smoothly from the top down or from the bottom up, that absolutely impacts the overall member experience as well. So, the employee satisfaction and retention is intricately tied to the member experience and the member satisfaction and retention. That makes sense.
Yeah, it really does. And you can see like a member, they can tell if a staff member isn't happy or if they're off or they're being overworked, right? It's unless that staff member is extremely good at acting and hiding it, it'll show in the end product, right? That's why understanding the unique challenges of your unique workforce is the first step. You've got to tailor your approach to fit the needs of different employees. Some will want long-term career growth, while others might just need seasonal stability, basically. So golf club managers really need to ask themselves, are we structuring our employment model in a way that keeps people engaged year-round?
That's a very good. I'm making notes as we're going here, and I didn't think of that until now, but that's definitely something I want to do another whole episode on. Let's make a note here actually while we're chatting, because that's great. So, okay, so let's move on to something that can't be overlooked, right? It can't be swept under the rug. It can't be downplayed, and it's workplace culture, right? And the importance of creating positive workspace culture. Brad, you've seen clubs that have amazing cultures, where employees are happy, at the very least, like fulfilled, they're feeling challenged, but like in a productive kind of fulfilling way. It's not everybody likes jobs that are boring, right? You sit around and do nothing. People they're kind of addicted to the high of the chaos and navigating it and making it, taming it, right? And dominating it and overcoming it, like to battle, and some people really like that. And some club cultures, even though they're intense and it's high stress, employees are happy and they're engaged and they're loyal, right? And you've seen that. I'm sure you've seen that, or at least heard about it. Different clubs, you've heard through the grapevine, maybe ones you didn't work at yourself. You worked at a handful. Pretty loyal guy. You didn't bounce around from club to club every year. You stuck for a long time with the clubs you were at, right? But you've also, I imagine, seen or heard of the opposite, right? Clubs where staff feel undervalued, they're disconnected, they're demoralized, and are really just there for a paycheck. What's the difference between these two club cultures?
Yeah, it's
from an employment standpoint, not with overlaps with numbers, but from an employment standpoint.
Yeah, definitely. So it's a tight industry, right? And you meet up at various events, right? You'll go to golf shows together. You meet all types of golf pros. So we share stories, right? So I'm not going to name any clubs or anything like that, but you hear through the grapevine what's going on, like you said, at certain clubs. And then I'll also have my own personal experience, obviously, right? So you'll see clubs where, people clearly aren't happy. They were fed one story and they get something else when they actually arrive there. You'll see a lot of clubs where people are overworked, they're underpaid, undervalued, that type of thing, right? But it really starts with leadership. Managers and owners set the tone. That's where it starts. So if leadership is engaged, communicative, and supportive, employees will follow suit. And I've seen this, in my own life. I've seen this in other ventures, other types of businesses, but mainly in the golf industry, obviously. People telling me about poor leadership and how it trickles down. So if managers are distant, dismissive, or only focused on numbers, employees start to disengage. That's why fostering a culture of teamwork and respect is so critical.
Yeah, exactly. And, a big part of that is communication. They say, divorce, depending on the partner who initiates the divorce, at the moment they tell you the divorce, they've already checked out. They divorced you emotionally and mentally and spiritually like 6 months earlier, a year earlier. right? They couldn't leave at the time. So, and then during that time that they're still married to you, when they're already checked out, are they bringing their best foot forward in the marriage? Are they bringing their best foot forward in their contribution to the marriage? Or are they just kind of skating by, waiting for their out? That's with your employees as well. You know, if your employees are gone, they're checked out, they're just collecting their paycheck. They're cutting corners, they're dropping the ball, they're not on top of things, they're doing the bare minimum, right? And that, like you said, is a crisis of leadership that trickles down both in the selection of their employees, but then also once they've selected their employees, assuming they have good employees, it's the wind under their wings. It comes from leadership, like you said, right? So, and a big part of that is the communication. It's very important in every business, including golf club, including, you know, private and public golf clubs, to have regular team meetings, one-on-one check-ins, routine one-on-one check-ins. Even if it's weekly, if that's too much, even if it's for 5 minutes, even for 2 minutes, but at least monthly one-on-one check-ins, and to have an open door, free speech kind of policy where employees feel comfortable voicing their concerns or, you know, their objections or their goals and their dreams, right? And sharing those comfortably with the people above them. So employees feel like they're heard, they feel like their input matters. They almost always become more invested in the business's success, in the club's success.
Yeah, absolutely, Clay. And another piece of this is making sure employees feel a sense of purpose. And I will touch on what you said above there. It's important that your manager, sure, you're hearing things, and communication is extremely important. You're being heard, your opinions are valued, but you need to see action from your managers, right? If there's a big concern at the club and a high-level manager is not taking care of it, that's going to trickle down once again, and your employees are going to lose that confidence that they used to have in that upper management, right? So, you know, like I said, if another piece of this is making sure employees. Sorry,
I just want to add one more. I just want to add one more
please,
thought to that, which is like,
of course,
you know, one of the number one ways that wars have been lost over time.
Oh, go for it.
It's what wins and loses wars, they say, is morale.
Yeah.
Because if you have a standing army of 1,000 men, and the army you're against has 100, but the army of 100 men, through psychological operations, is able to boost up the morale of their team while simultaneously attacking and diminishing and undermining the morale of the 1,000 men, then the 100 men will beat the 1,000 men.
Yep.
Not because of numbers, but because quite often out of the 1,000 men, if you can completely demoralize them, they'll mutiny and they'll attack each other from within. And your 100 men just have to bide their time, have to just sit back and let them all peck each other apart. Let them all, you know, the hierarchy of the leadership down to the foot soldiers. There's a top down and bottom up relationship in those armies.
Yes.
Where if the guys at the bottom were all talking, they're like, man, this thing's going down, dude. We're about to lose the war. They're like, we can always turn in our leaders and mutiny and join the other army, right? Yeah. And so, but this comes from a crisis in leadership. This comes from the people at the bottom that count on the leadership to lead the way, to navigate the terrain, to know their way through the valleys and the forests. You know, like if you can't lead your people through that, you can't count on them. You can't count on them to be there. You can't count on them to show up. You can't count on them to just bounce. Go find another job, another club, right? Like no one wants to stay on a sinking ship. And your ship may not be sinking quickly, but if it is year over year over year sinking, season over season, it is sinking. The people who keep coming back will see that. They'll see the patterns unfolding, and it's hard to keep them once in their mind, they're like, "Hey, this ship's not going where I want it to go." All right, well, I'm going to start, exploring my options. Now they're interviewing at competing golf clubs in your area.
Yeah.
And so, So I didn't interrupt there. I just wanted to add that point.
No, that was really good info. And you actually you nailed what happens in the industry that goes on, right? And it just takes one very vocal staff member at the lower rungs. It could be a seasonal employee, right, who's only there for 6 months, but they're very vocal and they're not scared to speak up, and they start slamming somebody in upper management because of one thing that happened. And then the other, it has this trickling effect, right? So extremely important that your leaders at the top are being conscious of what they're saying, what they're doing, if they're following through on things. And that was excellent info there about the war, tying it back to the war and that kind of thing. So pretty cool stuff.
Mutiny. Everybody heard of mutiny, but it's just like, what causes the mutiny? It's like, wow, they've lost trust in their leadership. Well, guess what? They're taking over now. Now, again, you don't have to worry about all the grounds, the seasonal grounds workers taking over the club and put you at a job. But if they all leave at the same time in the middle of the season, and they bring with them some other staff who have also been alienated because they're all talking with each other, and you lose 5 or 10 guys. Does that happen? Like, can clubs lose 5 or 10 guys in the middle of the season?
5 or 10 would be a lot. You could lose 2 or 3, right? You could lose 2 or 3 like key employees. If it's really bad, usually you can rein it in and kind of talk it out or make it work for the remaining section of the year. And a lot of staff members, it doesn't look good in golf to leave in the middle of the season. So they'll usually ride it out to the end of the year. And they will make it look seamless. Like, I moved on, right? They want to keep their name in good standing. Your reputation really hangs out with you in the golf industry, right? So you can make, one bad move and it really tarnishes your rep. So you have to be very careful, once again, with how you act, how you treat other people, how you act on the way up, right? If you're lower down and you're working your way up through a golf club and up through various positions, and how you treat people on the way up. I mean, we've heard this before, but it really, really matters once you get up there.
Yeah. And just last point, but to add to that, how you treat people on the way up is critical, but how you treat people on the way out is also important.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So if regardless of what your role is there, but especially a general manager, like, if you're moving clubs, you're going somewhere else, you're kind of just checking out of your club because it's done, and the owners and the board members are just dragging their heels. They're not making anything happen. They're getting in your way. They're sabotaging you, and you have to go somewhere. It's like, okay, well, people will still talk, right? And you can have a really great name on the way out, on the way up, on the way out. So I just wanted to add that. I think those are two movements where people have to be mindful, managers have to be mindful of what they're doing and the lasting impact they're having on people. Yeah. And at those two moments of transition.
Yeah. The way out is actually, I guess. The way out's very crucial. I mean, they'll eventually move on to, whoever, if it was somebody who's amazing who they miss, or somebody who was like good riddance, get them out of here. They will eventually move on, but these names will pop up later on. As I'm calling general managers, I'm speaking with general managers that I worked for, right? So if I was, difficult in my time working with them, or showed that I wasn't a good employee, or, I had issues around my employment, they probably wouldn't pick up my phone call or email me back or call me back, right? But it seems so far I'm able to speak with these men still because, when we worked together, everything went really well. So it does. I mean, you nailed it. You nailed it, Clay. So let's keep moving here, though. So
keep rolling.
Yeah. So again, I was saying another piece of this is making sure employees feel a sense of purpose, right? So if a groundskeeper knows that his work directly impacts the quality of play, he's going to take more pride in maintaining the course. If a pro shop attendant understands how his customer service affects repeat business, he's going to put in more effort. Helping employees to see the bigger picture makes a huge difference in their engagement.
And this could be as simple as, beginning of season, team meetings. This could be back to the meeting rhythm. This could be in a weekly meeting that you keep sharing the higher level, 30,000 foot view, perspective from way above the battlefield. That's really back to the army metaphor. Like the general, he is miles behind the battlefield. He's at the highest vantage point with the best view of the whole lay of the land. But the guys in the trenches, battling in the trenches, right? The barback, the starter, the guys that are just like, they're not in the 30,000 foot view, bird's nest position, right? They're down in their respective trenches. If they don't have perspective on how the whole club is working together and how their little job and their little task fits into the bigger success for that day, for that week, for that month of the club, then they're disconnected from their work, right? And they lose the purpose, like you mentioned, right? But if a good leader can communicate how even the lowliest employee in the golf club is putting his shoulder under the canoe and lifting and carrying the load so that the ship gets to its destination, whether you got to portage it, he's rowing when you're in the water and he's putting his shoulder in the canoe and you got to portage on dry land for a bit, right? Like he understands like the bigger picture and he feels part of something bigger than himself, right? He feels like, and then he trusts in the leader because the leader has a perspective he lacks in his green, his newness, his youth, his whatever, right? So he has to trust the leader and the leader can communicate effectively to these lower rung employees. It can do a lot to have them see even their potentially menial job or menial tasks as having, a great impact and a great contribution to the bigger pageantry that is like professional, golf and private golf club experience for the members. So, all right, we'll talk about the elephant in the room: compensation, money. If you're not paying your employees, surprise, surprise, if you're not paying your employees competitively, you're not going to be keeping them for the long haul, period. Right? If you're paying them the bare minimum, you're just not going to keep them. You better have an amazing brand and an amazing leadership style that just makes them feel like a part of a family that they can never possibly leave if you're going to not pay them well. Like you better have some good like Jedi mind tricks to pull on people if you think you're going to pay them less than everyone else, but they're just going to stay at your club because they just love you so much and they're so loyal.
Yeah. That's very, very good points there. A lot of, high-end clubs, some of them won't pay as well as they probably should because the value is in working at that club and having that on your resume, right? If I have
such a grabble, it's so
sure
shifty. They're like,
sure
you know
is.
how lucky you are to work here. You're
Yeah,
lucky we even pay you. This is a career-making opportunity, don't you know? You should thank your lucky stars. We let you scrub the toilets here. And
exactly.
You're just like,
exactly.
Right?
I
guess I should be grateful, huh? I should be grateful.
Yeah, and they're working under budgetary constraints, but there's always a little extra money, right? You could throw around some extra money, bonuses, things like that, can truly help. But a lot of golf professionals, I would say, just in the industry in general are underpaid for what they're doing. They have to make up for a lot of their lower salary in teaching a lot. So you have to, if you're at a club with a very healthy teaching atmosphere and people wanting to learn the game of golf, and you have a strong junior program, clinics, camps, and that kind of thing, you can make a very good wage, but it's at the expense of extra time. So you might work your 8, 9, 10 hour, 11, 12 hour, 13 hour shift.
It's like a side hustle.
It is.
I have a full-time job, and thanks to my full-time job, I'm so blessed. I have a side hustle as well.
I have a side hustle where I'm still there and I'm working. You get paid very well to teach, but your salary is quite low in comparison to other salaries where you have extremely specific things that a golf pro has to do. I have to wear so many hats as a golf pro. I'm repairing golf clubs. I'm managing tee times. I'm running tournaments. I'm managing staff. The list goes on and on. I could name 100 different things that a golf pro has to do. So it's very specialized work, but you're not being compensated necessarily for all of that expertise, right? So
you're like a general specialist or a specialized generalist.
Yeah.
Like you said, the golf pro, the phone rings. You have no idea who's asking for what there, but they seem to think you're the guy who can make it happen for them. So now you have to answer the phone and be like, what is this I need to deal with? And it could be shop related. Maybe they couldn't get a hold of another department. So now they're calling the pro shop, trying to get a hold of someone, right? And so you could be on the fly dealing with things that you weren't even expecting, but you still have to do them proficiently. And
yeah. And we end up doing things for other areas. And I'm sure that this is if somebody's listening to this as a golf pro, they will understand that I might have to do something for the food and beverage team, right? There's a lot of times food and beverage will need us to move around equipment or have to use our equipment, our golf carts. And then you end up doing a job that is not in your job description, but being, a golf pro and just wanting to see the whole thing go smoothly, you just help out. That's just what you do, right? And that's indicative of good employees in general. But I would say just to add to this, Clay, compensation isn't just about wages, right? Golf clubs need to look at the full package, performance-based incentives, bonuses, like I mentioned, and non-monetary perks like free golf, discounts, or wellness programs. Those extras go a long way in showing employees that they're valued.
Yeah, for sure. And so, let's be real. A lot of clubs struggle with this because they're, like you mentioned, they're running tight budgets. Like, the clubs have to be profitable if they're a profit-seeking venture, but the owners only want to forego so much of their profits, right? They need to make an ROI, right, on their efforts for owning and operating and running and incurring the risk of managing and owning a golf club, right? They're not doing it for free. It's not charity. And even like you said, some of these clubs are nonprofit entities. They're still paying out very nice salaries to all their employees, right? Like, would you say that the nonprofit golf clubs make more than the for-profit, or pay more than the for-profit golf clubs?
I'm sure it's different, honestly, club to club. Some of them will pay better than others, and then some of them won't, right? So it really depends. If you're a private club with a board of directors, if you've kind of had an update, you have somebody look at whether or not you're being competitive in the industry, because it's more about how competitive is it in the industry, right? I know that if I'm going to an A+ club, I should likely get paid A+ money. But again, like I mentioned before, if I just work at that A+ club for 5 years and then I put that on my resume, I can basically go to any golf club and work there in the future because I have that club on my resume. So I might take a hit financially for 5 years, but in the long term of my career, that can be extremely beneficial for me, right? So it seems like there is no real, standard of what somebody should be paid and what they shouldn't. There's a ballpark in there, but even if I go on a job board, you'll see all types of different pay grades for the same position at a very similar golf club, right? So the standards are very, very up and down in terms of what should be paid and then what isn't.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, what they struggle, they got their tight budgets, but
yeah,
the cost of losing good employees and constantly hiring and training new ones is way more expensive in the long run. So whatever, I've done recruitment for, a couple of years, and in recruitment, we learn, and our clients have to learn, like, we've had a situation where more than one occasion, I'll just give this as like I'm paraphrasing it as the example.
Yeah.
It's not the exact example, but a company's paying someone $100,000 a year. You hear me okay? Audio's good?
Yep.
Company's paying someone $100,000 a year. That person wants $10,000 raise, and let's say they deserve it. So they want to be at 110 annually, and their company won't give it to them. There's recruiters who are going to swoop in and get that person 110, no problem.
Yeah.
So now you're going to lose your employee who might have been there for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. They're trained. They know your operations. They're in a flow. They're making money for you every day they work. They're making you a profit on the wages you're paying them. They leave. Now this company is down a project manager. They need to replace this project manager urgently. They're not going to find a comparable project manager for less than $100,000, If anything, they're going to probably get them for about $110,000. But now they have to pay a recruiter a $20,000 headhunter fee. So now that $100,000 employee, they could have kept them happy by just giving them their $10,000 bonus or $10,000 salary bump, or maybe even just an annual bonus. It doesn't have to be a base salary bump. It could just be an annual performance bonus one time. They have to earn it the next year again, but they don't give it to them. Person feels undervalued. Person feels unappreciated. They get wooed and courted by a slick talking recruiter like myself, who comes in there and then says, hey, we got a better option for you. They're not treating you like they should. They really don't appreciate you. The person leaves. Then they leave. So now then the client then has to go to their HR. HR can't find them, so they have to go to a recruiter. They hire the recruiter. The recruiter says, yeah, well, I got your replacement. He's 110 grand. He's really good, but he's 110 grand. They're like, okay, well, we didn't want to pay Johnny 110. We just, want to stick with 100. I guess we have to now pay him 110. But then they also got to pay the 20 grand finder's fee on top. So now it's cost them 130 when it could have just cost them 10. And now they have to train this new person who may or may not work out. They lost Johnny, who they 5 years proven employee, right? So the cost of hiring and training, finding and recruiting new talent is more than just rewarding and compensating your talent appropriately. There's creative ways to do this. There is performance bonuses are great, right? Monthly bonuses. You can have a monthly bonus throughout the season with an annual bonus at the end of the season. You could have contests where, you have a employee reporting system where all your members are encouraged to leave positive or negative. This could be, here's an application for a voice AI agent. Anytime a member has a positive or negative experience with one of your staff member, doesn't matter what department, doesn't matter what it is, positive or negative, they just call the number and say, hey, I just had an interaction with Johnny, the groundskeeper. What a great young man that guy is. Give that guy a raise. I like that guy, right? And the end of the season, or end of the month, or end of the season, you could have maybe employees can't ask to leave a positive or negative. You wouldn't ask someone like, hey, go leave me a review over in the phone. But the members could be educated. Hey, listen, we're assessing our member, the quality of our staff. We're looking to improve their overall performance to maximize your satisfaction as one of our valued and prestigious members of our club. Positive or negative experience, please just call this number. Have a chat with our bot. That will get to all the appropriate managers, and we'll know that the staff is doing good. And for the managers, if you have a good experience with the manager, call the number and report it, because other managers will see that this call came in, So and then at the end of every month or end of every season, you can tally up all the positive and negative comments for all the employees really quickly. It's not that hard to do. So you have a running spreadsheet, and the winner is like a contest, right? They get an extra $5,000 bonus or something like that, or some bag of golf clubs they can go sell, or something. There's something you can do to make it fun and tie performance to compensation in a creative way that allows your members to tell you which one of your staff are really rising to the occasion.
Yeah, those are great ideas. Great ideas. So yeah, that's exactly right. So club managers, they need to ask themselves, right? Are we competitive in our wages and benefits? And if not, what can we add to make employees feel more appreciated without necessarily increasing payroll costs?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's shift gears to career growth, opportunities for advancement, and just career trajectory opportunities. And each club probably has a different one of those, a different way of setting someone up on a career path, as we were just talking. Like, you might work at a place, it's going to cut your pay for a while, but it's setting you up to work anywhere in the future, right? And so, but employees, to simplify it all, employees who see a future with your club are far more likely to stay. If they feel stuck and they're not getting anywhere, like their growth is stuck, their growth is stagnant at your club, They may not leave right away, but it's essentially inevitable. It's not if, it's a matter of when they will actually leave your club.
Yes, yeah. And you see this a lot, Clay, in the golf industry is golf pros, especially. I'll touch more on the golf operations and golf pro side of things here because that's my area of expertise. But you would see a golf professional kind of exhaust their stay at a golf club, having done everything, working all the junior programs, teaching tons of lessons, running the women's section, the men's section, basically exhausting completely their position and needing to move on to another position. Now, if that individual is being really well compensated, they may not have that mindset that where they want to go on and become a head professional or a general manager or something along those lines. They might just want to stay in that role and enjoy that so much that they'll maintain that. But I would say that training and promotion opportunities are extremely important at your golf club. Clubs should be investing in leadership training, golf instructor certifications, and mentorship programs. When employees know they can grow their skills and move up, they are more committed.
For sure. They call it the glass ceiling, right? If people hit, not the glass ceiling, but just their ceiling, people reach their as high as they can grow in a company, they may be fine with that if everything else makes sense, if everything is flowing, and they may not want to just keep growing and kind of clawing their way to the top of the pile, right? They might just be happy being on a functional team. But if they're being stunted, they feel like they're being stunted, they're being underutilized or overutilized, right? They're being taken advantage of. Well, they're like, well, I'm doing the job of a general manager and this general manager is not. So I guess I got to go be a general manager somewhere because this guy's not going anywhere. And all of a sudden you're losing your number 2 guy. When if you just honored him and gave him more training, more opportunities, more ability to excel and what's the word? Just super proficient in their role, they might be happy with the second or third in command role and not have the kind of the tickle or the drive, the itch of ambition where they want to keep going up, right? Because there might only be lateral moves within a company, within a club. There's no more vertical moves. If someone's really motivated by the next move has to be vertical, then they might have outgrown your club. But if they can kind of just keep getting more and more responsibility, more compensation, more work-life balance, more respect, more acknowledgement and recognition, they might feel that's satiating them, keeping them happy to want to, stay with your club for the long haul.
100%. Yeah, I would also, add to that it's kind of a thing in the industry. It's understood that people will move on. So if they have that career path, because it's a good thing, if you're a head professional or general manager, you want to know where your staff are headed, right? If they say, I want to work here for 15 years and become the best possible version of an assistant golf pro at this club, it's like, okay, well, let's do that for you. Let's get you your leadership programs. Let's get you all of the certifications you need. Let's get you to be the best individual you can be for this property, right? But if somebody has a different idea and their career path has been generally leading them into a place of excelling, they may have to leave the club, right? That's just kind of the nature. Like you said, there is a glass ceiling there, right? So
to go vertical, they have to go somewhere else. Like they've outgrown their club, and that happens. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
But when they move on, it is about knowing which one of those are their values, their goals, their ambitions, their life plan, and knowing that you're only going to get a year or 2, maybe 3 out of them before they are going to move on, versus the other ones that they live locally, they want to stay local, they like stability in their life, they want to grow with one company, they're very low, their temperament, their personalities and temperaments are just more attuned to staying in one place and growing deeply where they're rooted, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Very good points. So the key takeaway here is Are you giving your employees a reason to stay beyond just a paycheck? If not, start creating those career pathways today.
Yeah. And, just to add to that point, I don't know if I exactly said it, but the thought that I was trying to get at was it's the importance of promoting from within. And because other employees, like wherever possible, because if other employees see their peers advancing, see their peers' hard work paying off, and moving forward, even if it's just in pay and not in title or authority or anything like that, it's just in bonuses and pay and compensation and recognition, acknowledgement in front of the rest of the team, right? Which is non-monetary compensation that you can give out abundantly. There's literally no cost to it. It's only going to enhance your employee satisfaction and retention, right? It's never going to hurt your employee satisfaction and retention when you're giving them praise and respect in front of their peers and their coworkers for, a job well done. So, yeah, I just wanted to hit that last point. So,
yeah, good point.
We covered a lot today. We'll wrap. We're just right around just over 40 minutes. So, understanding employee dynamics, building a strong culture, offering competitive compensation, and creating career growth opportunities that align with the goals and the life plan, the objectives of your employees. If you want to maximize employee satisfaction and retention, these are the core areas to focus on. You can pick up just one and focus on that one to start if you can't kind of hammer all of them at the same time. But if you work on all of them and improve all of them over time, you're going to have, one of the clubs that people want to keep coming back to work at, where they stay for long periods of time. And it's going to really help you with your, talent acquisition and human resource management, season over season, month over month, year over year.
Yep. And remember, happy employees lead to happy members. As I said before, members can tell when employees aren't happy and they start asking questions. So investing in your staff is investing in your club's long-term success. Never take anyone who works for you for granted. You may need them one day, and they will remember how you made them feel more than anything else about their experience working for you.
Yeah, exactly. People will forget all the conversations they had with you. They'll forget, what you told them to do, the jobs they were doing for you. They'll forget all of it. They'll just in their gut be like, "Oh, that guy was cool. I liked him. Yes. That gal was cool. They maybe always made me feel good." Or they're like, that guy's a goof. That guy was a clown. Yeah. That guy never made me feel good at all. That guy had a chip on his shoulder and, had no business being in that role he was in. I don't know how he was there for that long. Right? They're gonna remember that. That's like, it could be a year, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years later. I still have bosses from 25 years ago where I was just like, man, that guy was a goof. That guy's probably struggling right now, man. That guy was a real clown. But okay, so before we wrap up, if you haven't already, you're gonna hear this a lot. I apologize if you heard it too many times and you've already done it, but give us a call. Try out, test drive our voice AI receptionist, 1-866-838-8581. Again, toll free, 1-866-838-8581. See how it works. And imagine the impact it could have on your golf club by replacing even one busy voicemail inbox and streamlining your members' interactions with your golf club and the staff. This single software can drastically contribute to enhancing employee satisfaction and retention at your golf club, because this single software can help reduce the chaos and reduce the putting out fires, the daily fires to be put out, right? If you can reduce that to your staff, they will be happier. They will enjoy their job better. They will enjoy their life better. They will wake up every day looking forward to come to work more often. And that's something within your control to work on today with this simple software. So
100%, 100%, Clay. I still like calling the bot. I have a good time with it. So I don't think they're
I wish I had more to talk with it about. I wish I could just chat. I wish I could just chat with it. Like, hey, so what are you doing today? What are you having a good day? Yeah. But they better be respecting you, bot. They better be respecting you.
Yeah, exactly. The bot has no feelings. Well, it does have some feelings. It can feel out your. It has some empathy, which was alarming to me when I told it I had a golf cart
It's
that was
lying.
down on 15. It was like, I'm so sorry, so sorry to hear that. And
It's just faking. It's
Thank
just
you.
faking.
What a sweetheart. Yeah.
It doesn't feel anything. It's a liar.
It doesn't feel. Okay. All right, Clay. That's it for today. If you found this episode valuable, share it with a colleague and subscribe for more insights on optimizing your golf club. If you're a manager at a golf club and are excited about the future of the industry and want to share your wisdom and expertise, please let us know and we would be happy to have you on the podcast. Once again, I'm Brad Milligan.
And I'm Clayton Elliott. We will see you next time on the Acecall.ai podcast, where we help golf club managers win with AI. Take care.